So this morning, guys, we are installing our shade cloth way at the top here. And we're just going to be sort of pulling it down a little bit because the temperatures are just so hot in here. The greenhouse is hitting temperatures at about 45 degrees Celsius. So we're just going to be moving the shade cloth down a bit and trying to protect the plants on this side of the greenhouse just from all of the heat that they're experiencing on the other side there. So that I'll show you the end result when we're done. Okay, so essentially what happened was I had the shade cloth folded in two. So all we did was just unfold it so it captures more of the sun. Just to try and keep the temperatures down in here all day long. The estimated temperatures outside are gonna be 40, so there's no doubt that the greenhouse is gonna be about, probably about 45, 50 degrees probably in here today, even with the fans going. So let's see what we've got around the greenhouse to harvest today now that we've put the shade cloth down. So first and foremost, you guys can see definitely now how the coriander / cilantro has dried right out. It almost looks like straw. So I'll be cutting this out and taking it up and threshing it and saving the seed. And next to it is the basil, which I think I'm gonna cut because it's about that time to start making spaghetti sauce. And what I wanna do is I wanna roast some of the flavors into the sauce itself. Big, beautiful basil. And the basil has actually started going to seed. So I'll be leaving some of them and saving the seed so that I don't have to buy seed next year. Very non-fussy plant. And it smells amazing. And here are my blueberry tomatoes, which have started putting on really, really well. You can see they've got, you know, they're starting to get the sun properly the way that they should so they can turn blue. So maybe just a couple of more days on the vine and then we'll be harvesting these as well. But the plant's doing really, really well. Let's see if I can show you a green one. There we go. So the green one starts to have the blue. I mean, these plants get exposed to so much light during the day, so the blue is starting to show really nicely. What else do we have in here? Of course, more blueberries. More blueberry tomato, more cilantro. The peppers are, it's only about 19 degrees in here, so the peppers are standing up. I've harvested a lot of the red peppers because we've been using them in relishes, and I threw some on pizza the other night. So the peppers are doing wonderful. And in the back here, look at our tomatoes, guys. So we're gonna pick some of these off because they're gonna be ready to use. See if I can get this off it. There we go. Look at that. That's awesome. I'm thinking pico de gallo maybe. It's the weekend, do something different. Really nice tomatoes, no damage. Almost looks like one you'd buy out of the grocery store. What else we have? Just want to get this out of here. Oh, there we go. Whoops, I dropped it. Go. Now, guys, these are our celebrity tomatoes. So these ones really took really well in the greenhouse. They did amazing. And they're still producing. I still have tomatoes sort of growing up the couple of the vines there in the back. So they are really loving the greenhouse. So I suspect this, from here on out, we'll probably be getting a lot of tomatoes. Okay. I can't complain. I was really worried because the temperatures have been so hot in here. I thought, oh geez, this is really going to make the skins tough on the tomatoes, but they're doing fantastic. I can't complain. Some really beautiful, perfect tomatoes. So yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm just going to move on down the line, but I just wanted to show you that the tomatoes are doing super well. It's July 17th. So to have tomatoes out here, you know, in the north on July 17th is almost unheard of with our weather. Now this year it's an exception, but it's the opposite this year. People are saying that they're losing their crops, obviously, because it's dry. And I mean, I'm not talking about commercial crops. I'm talking about home gardens because, of course, a lot of people, you know, they go into work, so the garden is sort of left during the day, and like normal, you would water when you get home. But what's happening is that some of the small gardens are drying out during the day, and people are having a hard time keeping up with them. So I'm getting a lot of requests for tomatoes and peppers and things like that where people are having a hard time growing them because the crops are their small gardens are drying out in the ground when they're gone to work during the day. So let's see what else we have in here. But guys, I really can't complain about the tomatoes. Awesome. Really looking forward to taste testing them too. So moving on down the line, all of you know that I have an abundance of hot peppers, so we're not going to pick those today because you're probably all tired of seeing me pick hot peppers. But in the back, we have to take care of the just the little cherry tomatoes because they've gone crazy. So I have to pick some of these off. Can make great little salads with these if you're not in the mood for, you know, a full-size tomato. It's about a little cup here. Of course, the peppers here, the sweet. Oh, and here is, I hate to skip topics, but when you see these guys, you want to kill these guys. They will eat your plants and munch down on them like there's no tomorrow. They are awful. They almost look like stink bugs. I call them little soldier bugs because they just soldier on right through your plants. I'm sure there's probably a correct name for them, but these guys are a pain. And as you can tell, maybe he might have even been snacking up the top here. So, sorry, dude. And that's what you do. I pick them off if I can catch them. Sometimes early in the morning, you'll find that they're sleeping. And I just squish them. I squished him pretty good, so he's done for. So I'm glad I got to show you that. So onward and upward to our tomatoes. Sorry about that little segue there. Okay, so let's take some of these. These tomatoes, these little guys have gone crazy in here. Add that to our bounty. Yeah, just because you have a greenhouse doesn't mean you don't get bugs. Especially now that you know, if you leave the door open, you get the good bugs with the bad bugs in here still. And so that can still be a challenge, especially with all the heat. And the weirdest bugs come out when it's hot. At least that's what I find. I mean, guys, the cherry tomatoes are, I mean, look at all the cherry tomatoes I have in here. They're just hanging off like grapes. So this variety, sorry, the leaf is in the way. This variety that I grew is called Sweetie. This is a hybrid. I will not be saving the seeds from this one. I wanted to try it this year and see if it worked. You know, just to see how it grew in a greenhouse, but beautiful tomatoes. And I could be in here picking all day. There's still more down at the bottom and more at the top here and more on the other plant. But to save you the boredom, we'll just move on to the next plant. But definitely really beautiful tomatoes to make a salad with. And we're just going to add that to our bounty. Okay, let's move on down to the eggplant. I'm pretty sure that was probably a mini little stink bug. We get two types of stink bugs here. We get one that's almost half the size of my thumb, which they are the ugliest bug I've ever seen, along with the June bug. Those I run from June bugs. My husband makes fun of me because he'll see me running at night from June bugs. Because what happens is I forget to put my hair up, and sometimes the June bugs get caught in my hair And you will see me run from one side of the homestead to the other until the thing flies out of my hair. I can deal with bears and I can deal with any other sort of scary big creature, but if I have something in my hair, it's not good. So I normally have to remember to tie my hair up in a bun so that it doesn't get a bunch of bugs in it while I'm going around harvesting. So yeah, so that was a little tiny stink bug, but they're just like soldiers. They just go right through your produce. So if you see them, kill them, squash them. There was for a really long time, I had a hard time squashing bugs. And once you see the damage that it does inside here, you have no problem after you witness that to kill them. So we're just gonna go right to the eggplant. Now I'm gonna cut some of these off because as you can tell, this guy has so many eggplants on him. I've had to stake it. And I've also, I've had to actually stake it in 2 places, but it's leaning over so bad because it's so heavy with the eggplants. So we're gonna cut some of that off too and take them out. Let me see if I can get a shot up underneath. I mean, he's just full of mini little eggplant. So let's just give him a break and take some of these off. The eggplant does not want to come off. There we go. Right? So if you cut off enough of these, you can make an eggplant parmesan. Or the other thing you can do is obviously take the tops off, split them in half, roast them down, and then top them with an herbed cream cheese and roll the cream cheese up in the eggplant. Really, really good. The other thing that you're going to get in a greenhouse as well is weeds. You see here, I get a lot of weeds that like to grow up even through the landscape cloth. So even though you're, I have pickles here. So even though you're weeding, the inside of your beds, even though I've laid down landscape cloth and I've got, little cement blocks here, I still get the occasional weed that likes to grow up through. So every once in a while, what I'll have to do is I'll sort of have to go around on the floor and look for weeds just to make sure they're not propagating in here, because they'll just propagate right up into the raised garden bed. So that can be an issue sometimes, especially when it's hot. How tall this guy is. There's one big eggplant here in the back that I want to get. And guys, this is just one plant. Let's see if I can get through here. Oop, the leaves are just all in the way. There's a really big eggplant down here that I want to get. Come on. There we go. I apologize for the camera. To lean down and pick them up out of the raised bed. Well, these just act like counterweights. We just have to take them off, otherwise it just stresses the plant out. But this guy here is just all one plant. This entire thing here is all one plant. So I'll go through and take a couple more off, and then we'll add those to our bounty and see what else we have. Now guys, just above the eggplants where we were picking, this is my mustard plant. Let me just move back a little bit. The mustard greens have now they're now going to seed. As you can tell, the bees have been in here non-stop pollinating these. So pretty soon, I'm going to have little mustard seeds, and I'm going to be taking these and showing you how to make your own mustard out of them. Little pods here. So we'll have mustard seeds soon. And then I love mustard greens, and they're really healthy for you. So we'll be replanting this next year. It does really well in a greenhouse if you're into hot greens. Like I said, these taste like horseradish, and I love them. Guys, my sweet potato bed is out of control. It has kind of taken on a life of its own. I'm just letting them stay in the bed and give me the signal when they're ready to pick. Now, from my understanding, you have to wait until the leaves start yellowing like a regular potato before you pick the full-size sweet potatoes. I don't know. I'll have to ask some experts about that I know. But yeah, it's taken on a life of its own. And it's really happy in the greenhouse. But I wouldn't have been able to grow this, you know, starting the time that I did and, you know, starting them in March outside, because we weren't able to plant in the ground here till about May. A lot of you were wondering sort of how I power some of the grow lights when I put them up in the wintertime in March. So about every 6 feet or so, what I've done is installed, or had installed, because I didn't do that myself, every 6 feet is a plug, so that I'm able to, you know, hook up grow lights all the way around. Now, of course, I have to go up here because we're on some triangles, but there's the next plug up by the cucumbers. So whenever I need to plug in an extra fan, if I need to, or turn on some grow lights, which does happen if I want to start growing in March. Where's the next one? Just move it on down here. I have the ability to do that, and it's important. You need the grow lights. There's no way I'd be able to start growing if I didn't have the ability to put in some grow lights, because the seedlings obviously grow faster when you have more light. This one's hidden behind the corn. So all of these plugs essentially go around the entire circumference of the greenhouse. The cucumber's hiding this one. My cucumber's actually growing up through the plug. That's probably not good. But they go around the entire circumference, so that I'm able to just start growing a little bit earlier, or plug in an extra fan. Or who doesn't want to go in the greenhouse without tunes? I always have a radio in here. Okay, another side note. Let me just walk back to the pickles and see if we have anything there. Let's see. Oh yeah, we've got some pickles in here. More dill pickles, guys. I mean, I like to pickle, but between the zucchinis and the little cucumbers here, which just want to keep on, you know, giving me more and more and more, which I'm happy for, but I am tired of making pickles. See, we're getting some more. Be taking this guy down. You don't want them to grow pretty much past this size. If you do, what you're going to find when you crack open the cucumber or the pickling cucumbers, it will be bitter. They tend to go bitter after being about this big, especially in the sun. So you want to make sure that you harvest them while they're about that small, because if you go any bigger, they'll be bitter. But we've got quite a few. And here's the difference between, somebody was asking me what the difference between, how do you know that my cucumbers haven't been pollinated? Now, I've been letting the pollinators in here to do it. But sometimes, of course, they miss, you know, there's a ton of flowers in here and they miss them. So what you'll find is you'll come through one time and you'll see your cucumber looks like this. So there's no yellowing. The flower is about to fall off of this guy, and he has been pollinated. He's perfectly green and nothing's wrong with him. But then you might come over here and you'll see this guy, and you can tell he's not pollinated. He's dying. He's completely yellow and he's brown. And usually what I do is, when I see this, I know it's not going to come to fruition, pardon the pun. So I just come along and pinch them off, because it's just a waste of your plant's energy to try and develop something that's just never going to develop. I've got a bigger one actually up here. So the bees miss this guy too. All right, so they just basically shrivel up and sometimes just fall off. But you can come through and sort of deadhead and clean it up yourself, and you know, the other pickles will grow faster. So that's how you know the difference. They just end up being yellow, and they look terrible, almost rotten, and they fall off. I thought the watermelon was a goner. One half of the plant actually died, and then all of a sudden, all this new growth started. And now, you know, this guy for sure is ready to pick. He's ready to go, and I just haven't done that yet. But now I discovered today that there are more male flowers on the watermelon. And I've been hand pollinating the female flowers that I've been finding. So the inside of the male flower on a watermelon looks like that. Okay, so it's got kind of like a cool pattern to it. And then the female flower, see the fruits on the end here, kind of just has not really any pattern. So I've been in here hand pollinating the new flowers that I've been finding. Look, there's another female. And if you don't hand pollinate this because it's an heirloom, if the bees don't get to it, then the watermelon will just die. But there's the pattern of the inside of the female flower, and you can see the fruit on the side. I thought it was a goner, but it started just putting out all these new shoots. So it's, you know, it's not ready to go yet. I still have one more watermelon that I haven't harvested on the side. And the other thing I discovered is I thought it was a pumpkin that I planted. And it's not. It's a cantaloupe. I'm getting cantaloupe. I'm growing cantaloupe. This was an accident. I had no idea. So, and actually, they're just supposed to be mini cantaloupes. So I'm pulling it off to see. It smells amazing. Oh yeah, that's a cantaloupe. As a kid, my mom used to eat a ton of cantaloupe. So I found this package that was opened, and it looks like I accidentally just planted a whole bunch of mini cantaloupes. So we're going to cut this guy open and see. But when I took them from the vine, all you're smelling is sweet cantaloupe now in the air. So I'm thinking this guy's ready. It's just mini cantaloupes. So let's see what he looks like after and add him to the bounty. But guys, zone 3 in cantaloupe, that's awesome. And this guy over here isn't a cantaloupe plant. It's another mini melon that I planted. And it's a honey melon. So I'm waiting for it to give me some signs as to when it's ripe and when it's ready. I'm just going to leave him here. He seems happy. Once again, we're getting fruit being put out. So these plants are happy in here, but I'm really anxious to try the mini cantaloupe and see what that's all about. So guys, I'm going to be actually pulling out the Swiss chard. I'm going to be canning the Swiss chard. It's no different than kale. When we went through the kale video, we can actually put this in, you wash it, you do the same thing, you chop it up, and you can put it in a soup, or you can actually can them by themselves. Same thing, you're going to be putting it in you're going to be sort of mixing it, boiling it down, and then you're going to be canning it for about 90 minutes in the pressure canner. But a great way to, you know, to keep your harvest over the winter. You need that little blast of greens in the winter time. Obviously, they're not going to be fresh and crispy, but throw them in a soup. Throw them in anything just to get your blast of vitamins for the winter. And the broccoli, once again, we're going to be harvesting some of the broccolini. Guys, I think I have broccoli every day. I have not gone back to the grocery store for broccoli for, gosh, months. These plants just keep putting out the broccoli. So, broccolini, that's the name of the plant that I have in here. I have 4 of them. And if you're just looking to have a quick little bite rather than, you know, having a whole broccoli head to deal with and what do you do with it, if you plant broccolini, you can just use the little spears and saute them, and it actually brings out the sweetness in the plant. Okay, so next to the sweet potato bed is the strawberry and broccoli bed. So you can see how big these broccoli, once again, broccolinis. I'm going to be doing a lot of freeze drying in the future as well, but these are probably going to go in the freezer, blanching them and putting them in the freezer, or even broccoli soup. We love broccoli soup around here. So if you can take a look, you can see the heads that are coming up on the broccolinis. Now I could harvest them, or you can let them, what'll happen is if you let the heads get this big, they'll start sending the side shoots out. You want the broccolinis at least this long before you cut them. And I'm talking about the single fleurets. before you cut them. This one head here will turn into, you know, like 6 or 7 long pieces of broccoli. That's what you want. And that's when they're the sweetest. Not that they're not good like this, but if you just hold on and you're patient, then you let them split off, amazing. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of these plants. And in the corners, what I've done is I've stuck in chili peppers, which have now grown right out of the bin. They were really small. I thought, well, maybe the broccoli leaves would overtake them, but they're really small, and now they're big. The strawberries in this bed are done setting. And now we can also harvest okra. I've saved this okra for seed. See how they dry on the plant? But I'm going to be harvesting the okra off of this plant. Now, sometimes what you can do, I know a lot of people have a hard time with okra. You can actually boil the okra for a little bit if you want, and it'll take out that gelatinous sort of weird taste that people have a problem with okra. It doesn't really bother me, but you can get rid of it by boiling it. Okra in zone 3, like who would have ever thought? Oh, look, a weed. No small abundance of weeds in here. There is, no matter how much I come through here and weed, there's still more weeds the next morning because of the humidity. And more okra. So we're going to harvest the okra too and take that off and take it inside tonight, I think, and have with dinner. But more pepper plants. These are chili pepper plants that I put in here. Guys, I'm using every inch of space in these raised beds. Every inch. Another chili pepper plant. And you know what? It can be done. There's a lot of old school people that say, you know what, you're pruning your plants too much and you need to stop because you'll stunt the plant. No, actually what happens is if you prune your plants within reason, they will provide you an abundance of food. Sometimes a trim on a plant is really good, and I've had really good success with trimming and pruning plants and making everything fit in one bed. I'm actually finding that the broccoli and the pepper plants really like being together. It's unorthodox. You don't hear that a lot, but as you can tell, my pepper plants are really happy sitting in here with the broccoli. So why not? This bed in here, these beds in here are actually different. These beds in here are basically about 2 feet by 9 feet in here. Same with the sweet potato bed. It's a 2-footer by 9-footer bed. Once again, all made by Ray's Garden Beds. So raisedgardenbeds.ca. That's who makes these beds. Really can't complain. Just really super awesome. He does a great job. They're all made by hand. Somebody asked me how he makes the corners. I think Ray actually has a machine to help him round out these corners, which I really love. He doesn't just bend them and make the corner, he rounds them out. So really happy with the raised beds. All right, let's go check our bounty. Okay guys, so it is Saturday morning. The sun is finally starting to go up. It's 24 degrees in here. I started out with 19 degrees. So anyway, and just to show you really quickly, my radish seeds are finally ready to harvest. You see how dead the outer pods look? So when you crack these, you'll be able to actually take the seeds out of them and away you go. So our bounty this morning, I didn't pick the okra yet because I got to get to that, but we've got our basil to roast down to put in our spaghetti sauce. We've got our beautiful sweetie tomatoes, our wonderful celebrity tomatoes that I'm going to let probably redden up a little bit more, but beautiful size. I mean, I really can't complain about the size of these. Oh my gosh, the basil smells amazing. Guys, a mini cantaloupe in zone 3. It smells amazing. I can't wait to cut this open and see what it looks like and what it tastes like. Who would have thought, you know, and it's got a little give to it, so I think it's ready, but who would have thought in zone 3 you could grow cantaloupe? I'm so excited. And then we have our eggplant, we have our beets, and everybody's favorite, the zucchini, which I only harvested 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there's 7, 8, 9, and 10 in there, and they can stay in there for now. So that's what we've got so far. That does not include the outside garden beds, guys. The outside garden beds are exploding. It's just that I don't want to make this video too long and give you a snore fest. So I will pick the beans and then sort of give a picture of it so you can see how much beans that we harvested for the day. But thank you so much for joining me on this journey. This is a journey to food self-sufficiency. As you can tell, I'm really passionate about it and probably talk and ramble on a little bit. But guys, this is really exciting to see that the developments that you can grow in the far north of Cantaloupe, because in the wintertime, it's really hard to have access to certain fresh fruits and vegetables. So if I can grow cantaloupe in here and freeze it, or even mix it down into a puree and, freeze it that way to make smoothies for the winter, be awesome. So guys, off I go out to the raised garden beds. That'll be another video. And we're going to take our bounty up to the house, and I'm going to cut open the cantaloupe and see how that goes.